welcome to another episode of The Real Steel, where we talk all things Pittsburgh Steelers. No BS, just the real steel. I'm your host, Jeff, joined as always by my co-host, Polt. Not a good one to talk about this week, Polt. Tough loss for the Steelers. I was there in person. It sucked. 31-28. Bears win. Not a good game at all for the Steelers. I feel like with Mason Rudolph at the helm in Chicago, I don't feel great about it. Still stomaching everything that happened on Sunday, and wish it was different. You know, it sucks when you make the trip for an away game and you come back losers.
Yeah.
We were definitely losers, that's for sure. Plenty to talk about with this game. We're Thanksgiving week, so we'll keep it to a shorter episode. But what jumps out to you? Where do you want to start with this?
I don't even know where to start. Yeah, that was a crazy game, and for you to have been there probably made it a lot worse. You had to deal with, not being at home to watch that pitiful loss, and it feels like Groundhog Day, if you've ever seen the movie, and it's just the same thing every single day, every single year, every single week with this team, and I don't know. I'm quite honestly just getting just tired of it.
Yeah, it's the ups and it's the downs, and they're pretty good ups and they're pretty low downs. Obviously, the storyline here, part of the storyline here is right before, a couple hours before the game started, it was announced that Mason Rudolph was going to be starting. Aaron Rodgers was out. We talked a little bit about that on our last episode. Would have been nice to see Aaron Rodgers come out play against the Bears, but if he wasn't fully healthy, Mason Rudolph was definitely the right decision. Hindsight's 2020. Don't know what would have happened if Aaron Rodgers played. Obviously, we can run through the hypotheticals. On the stat sheet, Mason Rudolph didn't necessarily have a bad game, but he was check down Charlie in this game. And I think a lot of that is probably part of the play calling with Arthur Smith. I don't think I saw his passing chart, and there was one ball that was thrown in the middle of the field, and Mason Rudolph's very first throw was an interception, and I like the aggressiveness, and it felt like he was able to shake it off a little bit throughout the game, but so many of the plays were just these little small routes, and I think what it boils down to for me is if I look at kind of the breakdown, the play-by-play breakdown, and I go all the way to the fourth quarter where we get the ball with 14 minutes left and we're down 10 points, right? Not a terrible place to be in, right? We've been in worse. Down 10 points with almost a whole fourth quarter to play. You would think that we'd be able to do something, which we did. We put together a nearly 8-minute drive and scored a touchdown. But what are we doing putting together a 17-play drive that's going to take us 8 minutes to score a touchdown? And there is no knowledge of what is happening with the play clock, with the game clock, and that was extremely, it was frustrating watching us drive down the field so slowly. That would have been great if we did that in the first quarter and the second quarter, but that never happened. I was baffled by kind of that third and fourth quarter that we played were horrible. See, they almost just made me throw up. It was that bad. It was that bad.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that drive you're talking about, there was 2 plays that went for more than 6 yards. Listen to this: 7, 3, 3, 1, 19, 6, 3, 2, incomplete 3, defensive pass interference 4, 5, 2, 2, 3, 6, 3. I mean, I guess the one had an offensive penalty too. I mean, it's just painful, and a lot of those it was like half and half, I think, pass and runs, and that just kind of was the theme of the whole day. It was just, like you said, check down Charlie. Mason's passing chart shows 6 balls that went beyond 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, including the interception, and the other 2 that were beyond 30 yards were nowhere close to the receivers, so it wasn't like they were very productive throws either. It felt like this was one of the – I know we put up 28 points, although 7 of that was from the defense, but this felt like one of the worst offensive games we've probably played all year. I don't know if you have the same opinion, but that's kind of how I felt.
Well, it was frustrating because this game was so winnable.
We'll
talk about the defense in a second. This is the 5th game this season the defense has let up more than 30 points, which is pretty unheard of. I was reading something that said we've only let up 30 or more points 6 times twice in history. I think it was in 1998 or 1998 or 88, and then 2002. And you look at our schedule, and we play the Bills, we play the Lions, we play the Ravens. Pretty good chance that we get up there, maybe even break that record. So defensively was, again, we got that touchdown, but there was a lot to complain about or talk about on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Offense, here's what's really crazy to me. So I mentioned that we put together this 8-minute drive. You ran through all the yardage of those plays. The Bears got the ball with 6.5 minutes left. Sure enough, I mean, we stopped them. We actually possessed the ball 2 more times for 2 more drives after that touchdown, and we forced the Bears to have 2 3-and-outs, and we could not do anything. And we'll talk about that last drive in a minute and where the frustration lies there. But when I look at the team stats, it was very unheard of what the Steelers did in this game, in that in most categories we won out. And we look at the scoreboard and we're down 3 points and we lose the game. We had more first downs than the Bears. We ran more total plays than the Bears. We had more total yards than the Bears. Not as many passing yards, but we had more rushing yards. We had less penalties. The turnovers was really sloppy, but we had 2 of our own and we forced 2. And if you look at time of possession, we possessed the ball for 33 minutes and the Bears possessed the ball for under 27 minutes. So we won out offensively in all of those different categories. We possessed the ball and we held on to the ball, but we made some really, really interesting decisions and didn't take points in certain scenarios. And like you said, with that last drive, the short yardage, it was constant. It was constant throughout the whole game. So this was just a weird one. It was frustrating. It was almost painful to watch. And you look at the scoreboard, you see we put up 28 points with our backup quarterback. Granted, 7 of those are from the defense. Should have been able to win this game. You should have been able to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big talking points online with the Steelers is we never outpossess a team and we never have more plays than the team. And like you said, we did both of those, and we had more yards than the Bears did. But in Steelers, and I mean, we were 8 for 14 on third down too, at 1 for 3 on fourth, which is a story in the game. But 8 for 14, I don't know if we've done that all year. I mean, that was pretty impressive. But like you said, it didn't really matter, and it's kind of. It was kind of a weird game because looking at this, it did not feel like. I mean, I'm just looking at these stats for the first time talking to you, and I didn't realize we ran for 186 yards. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's pretty darn good actually. But in Steelers fashion, the turnover battle is the defining stat in the game, and the fact that we tied the turnover battle 2-2 is why we ultimately lost the game. I mean, I think they had 21 points off of our turnovers. I don't know what we had off of their turnovers, but of course we had the touchdown. But those 2 turnovers, the interception, the fumble, well, I guess 2. It was 1 interception and 1 fumble by Mason Rudolph. Yeah, just both of those loomed really, really large, and ultimately we weren't able to overcome them.
So it's just a really sloppy game from the special teams perspective, from the defensive perspective.
Yeah.
Offense, I mean, Roman Wilson, his 0 catches. Calvin Austin was your leading receiver, but he only had 36 yards.
Yep.
DK tried to get involved with 8 targets. He landed with 22 yards off of 5 catches. There's just so much that is wrong with everything that happened here. And I think a lot of it boils down to our coaching in this game in particular. The Bears were very much depleted on defense, and it almost seems like there was no preparation that went into this, or that didn't even come into consideration when we were thinking about it. And that, I think, is what really, really bothers me, because this was such a winnable game for us. I really do think that we should have won this. And now look what happened. We're 6-5. The Ravens have now jumped us in taking over first place in the AFC North. Granted, they have the same record as us, but they have 1 less loss within the division right now. They're 2-0 in the division. We're 2-1 in the division. We have a really, really tough schedule coming up. If you look at kind of playoff simulators, one of the things I was playing around with, our playoff chances as of right now are like 20 to 30%. That was a huge swing in terms of that loss. And for us to make playoffs, these teams that we're going to have to beat, like, we don't really have a fighting chance to get to 10 wins if we don't beat Buffalo, if we don't beat the Ravens, at least once. We got to beat probably Miami on Monday night. Um, the Browns would be great if we can win that game, but it's going to be hard to beat the Ravens twice. It's going to be hard to beat Detroit. It's going to be really hard to beat Buffalo next week. So, tough spot to be in for the Steelers. It might not be a playoff season at this rate, and it might not even be a winning season for Mike Tomlin. I'm sure the Steelers are going to Steeler, and they'll find a way to beat Buffalo, and then you lose to the Browns, and then you beat Baltimore, and you find yourself
Right.
sitting on the last day of Week 17, where you're counting on two losses to happen, and they both happen, and we get the seventh seed or whatever. Like, that stuff happens, but I don't know. We'll see if it's deja vu when that comes around. But like you said, it's very much Groundhog Day after watching and witnessing this game.
Yeah, and you brought up coaching. I think coaching is a really big point in this whole entire game. We want to talk from the offensive side of the ball. You mentioned it earlier. We didn't throw the ball over the middle of the field at all.
Yeah.
And they had their three top middle linebackers were all out. They had their two top corners still out. I mean, they were playing with basically practice squad guys on the entire back end and middle of the field. And we played our tight ends more than our receivers. I think DK Metcalf was the only wide receiver that played more snaps than Jonnu Smith, Keanu Benton, or I'm sorry, Jonnu Smith, Pat Fryermuth, and Darnell Washington. And if you're going to play those guys, okay, that's fine. I mean, it also honestly kind of makes some sense against the team that doesn't have a middle linebacker. But they didn't throw to the guys over the middle of the field. I mean, they don't ever look towards the middle of the field. And this isn't a Aaron Rodgers issue. It's not a Mason Rudolph issue. You could list out the quarterbacks. It's been 8, 9 quarterbacks over the last 5 years, and 3 different offensive coordinators at least. And this just continually happens when everybody else in the NFL. If you look at the passing chart for Caleb Williams against us, he made his money over the middle of the field.
Yeah.
I mean that he tore us apart over the middle. And Matt Stafford did it last night on Sunday Night Football. All these good teams. If you look at George Pickens' route tree, I know that's a big topic right now. He's running tons of stuff over the middle, getting huge gains of middle breaking routes, and we just don't do it. And I was going to do some homework. Luckily, somebody did it for me. They looked up Arthur Smith with Ryan Tannehill, or just in general in Tennessee. And the middle of the field was used a decent bit with Ryan Tannehill and Arthur Smith's offense in Tennessee. And it was used by Desmond Ridder when he was in Atlanta. So the complete neglecting of the middle of the field doesn't seem like that's a staple of Arthur Smith's offense. Actually, if you think about it, that's why they brought him in. That was a big talking point when we hired him. Hey, he knows how to utilize the middle of the field unlike everybody else, and we just don't do it. And that's when you start to question. I know he's a defensive coach, but when is Tomlin the one making all these decisions? And it just goes back to, I mean, the theme of this is it's Groundhog Day, because it doesn't matter the players on the field, doesn't matter the coaches on the sideline. No matter what product we put out there, it all looks the same.
Yeah, it's very troublesome. I think you bring up some really good points. Like, who's to blame here? And certainly Mason did not have a great game.
No.
But we've seen these poor games from Aaron. We saw them from Mitch Trubisky. We saw them from Kenny Pickett. We saw them from Justin Fields.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, you make that list, and everyone's on there. And the common denominator isn't the quarterback, and the common denominator is not Arthur Smith. So take that for what you want. That's kind of how I see it, and I think you see it the same way. It's just it's frustrating. It's troublesome. I just have I think I've said this on most of the times we've lost probably, but I have an extra sour taste in my mouth after this game, just because it seems like we really should have won this game. Like, what? Especially when you look at the fourth quarter and we possessed the ball twice within the last 5 minutes, or inside of the last 5 minutes, you couldn't do anything. Tough.
And all we needed was a field goal. It wasn't like we were down by a touchdown. We were down by 3.
Yeah.
The defense actually did their job in the fourth quarter. Had two 3 and outs.
Which is kind of frustrating, because I think myself, as well as the entire stadium, was like super, super pissed that on that initial fourth down on our second to last drive, that we didn't go for it and we punted it away. We had 3 timeouts. It was right at the 2-minute warning. So there, mathematically, if we stopped them on all 3 of their plays, we would get the ball back. And the defense did that, but that pissed me off because it showed that Mike Tomlin is really a coward. Like, he was punting away the game, and I thought in many cases that game he punted away his chances at playoffs.
Yeah.
That's how I really see it. Definitely punted away his chances at playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, if we get into the end of the game a little bit, it was a 4th and 9. So, I
Sure,
mean, in the
sure.
in the moment, I was definitely like, okay, I kind of can understand it. Our offense isn't doing that well. It's 4th and 9. Are we really going to get it? We're going to give them the ball in the 23. They then definitely get a field goal. We go down by 6. Can we really score a touchdown that quickly? I don't know. So in the moment, I kind of felt that way. But I will definitely say my opinion has changed. It absolutely was a surrender punt,
Yeah,
especially when the punt became a 33-yard punt
yeah.
by Corliss Waitman, which we'll get to, I'm sure, shortly. But yeah, it's just in this day and age, you can't just punt that ball. You need to go for it. And I mean, they had been getting a couple like catch and runs for some yardage. Like if you're an NFL team that can't pick up 4th and 9, then you might as well not even be on the field. Like, I mean, that's embarrassing. And to be honest with you, the defense got lucked out. Kyle Monangai of the Bears had a 30, 40-yard run that he tripped on the second down on that last drive for them. And if he doesn't trip, I mean, the game's over. He runs 30 yards. And so it ended up working out, and the decision, obviously, in hindsight, doesn't look terrible because it worked out. But yeah,
Just bothers me because that boosts Mike Tomlin's decision
I
making to
know.
say, "Oh, we can do that again." Because if our defense does what they're supposed to do,
Right,
they're going to do it. And so I am almost frustrated that the defense did force a 3-and-out, but
right.
it gave us another chance to win, right? And so what happens? We get the ball on our 20-yard line because
Yeah.
I think that punt went into the end zone. I think it was a touchback.
Yes, it did.
And so we get the ball with a minute and 12, no timeouts, and we put together somewhat of a decent drive. We put a 14-yard pass, 7-yard pass, 8-yard pass, 2-yard pass. So we generally converted
They
incompletion.
got to the
2-yard pass.
50-yard line in 30 seconds.
We got to the 50-yard line in 30 seconds, and ultimately we're at let's see, it's a 3rd and 8 after an incompletion, and there's 39 seconds left on the clock. We're on the Chicago 49-yard line. We throw a very short pass to DK Metcalf for 2 yards. So we get down to the
Yep.
47-yard line of Chicago. And it is 4th and 6. You have no timeouts. You can't spike the ball. But you just had a play that was at the, a 2-yard gain. So everyone's right. Everyone's right there, right? You can
Right.
gather everyone pretty quickly. So what do? We run up to the line of scrimmage. I watched this in person. They look super fucking confused. They looked like no one had any idea what was going on. And I don't even remember what that last play looked like other than it was
It's
terrible.
awful.
It was terrible. I don't even know if he threw past. Maybe it was deflected.
It got tipped. It got tipped.
Okay. So it was just a terrible, terrible play call. Now, you're going to call me crazy here, but I think this is very reasonable and probably could have happened. You have 30 seconds with the clock running. You can have your whole team leave the field, run your special teams on, and you probably have, by the time everyone gets on the field and kind of gets settled, you probably have 10 seconds where Chris Boswell can sit down, take a breath, line up the kick, and snap it. You have time to do that. It would have been the I don't know what the terminology is for it, but it would have been like the scramble drill, right? Where you
Yep.
run everyone off, bring everyone on. If you do the math, 47 plus 10 is 57. Put it back, what, 7 or so yards for the length
It
of
was a
a
65
place
yarder.
kicker? Would have been a 64, 65-yard field goal.
Yep.
Now, I know that's a long field goal. But you have a much, I think, better chance of trying to convert that when you know you have a really, really great kicker who has shown he can kick from 60 plus in terms of leg. There was no wind in Chicago yesterday. That was like, it was amazing. The group of people that we were with, the fact that we were talking about that there was no wind in Chicago,
Yeah.
that was a dream for Chris Boswell to be able to kick like that. And I look at this, there was another opportunity early in the game where I went for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, and we didn't take points. And I understand the decision, and I like the aggressiveness, but I think at that stage you do take the points. And Mike Tomlin was asked in his post-game press conference why he went for it. And he said, well, if you can't make it on 4th and 1, you probably don't deserve to win. And I said, amen. And you proved that. You proved exactly that. If you can't make it on 4th and 1, you don't deserve to win. I would have taken points there. You have the best kicker in the league again, and they're just letting him sit on the sideline and maybe kick extra points if you get in the end zone. So I really, really question the decision at the end of the game, especially when your defense was hot. They just had 2 stops inside of 5 minutes where they forced 3 and outs, right? So if you can make it to overtime, and the offense put together a really long drive, that 8-minute touchdown drive earlier. So yeah, I'm just really not happy with how the end of the game played out.
Yeah, you mentioned before I hit on the end of the game, you mentioned the 4th down conversion that we didn't get, the 4th and 1 on the 30-yard line, so not even a 50-yard field goal where we did the tush push with Connor Hayward. I mean, first of all, that was right after we got our turnover. We had the turnover of the Yaya Black ripping the ball out of DeAndre Swift's hands, and then we moved the ball 9 yards and go for it 4th and 1. Like you said, I like the aggressiveness. I guess it was 19 yards, but I like the aggressiveness, but And to be honest with you, I think the call was wrong. I think he got the first down, but they botched the entire play call, which makes it look even worse because, I mean, I think one of the linemen said this. He messed up the snap count or something, and nobody knew when to get off the line of scrimmage. So that was kind of a broken play. But he got the first down. But again, if you take the points there, you're up 17-7 in the midway through the second quarter, and you're up by 2 scores. And the Bears end up going down after we missed the 4th down, and they tie the game up 14-14. So that was like a 10-point swing right there. Instead of being up 10, we ended up being tied, and that's just something you can't do. So I completely agree with you there. And surprisingly enough, my opinion's also changed on the end of the game. In the moment, like I did on the previous drive, I thought it was the right decision not to run Boswell out there. But now looking at it, that our 4th and 6 play was snapped with 21 seconds left. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, everybody had to get back to the line of scrimmage. It was a completed pass the play before. We probably could have gotten set with 12 to 10 seconds left, and that would have been plenty of time. And my concern was a 65-yard field goal. In the moment, my concern, a 65-yard field goal running everybody onto the field and off the field is a lot of chaos for a really, really long kick. However, they had time, like you mentioned, and do we trust Chris Boswell or do we trust Mason Rudolph?
It's what they get paid to do.
Right, but do we trust Mason Rudolph or Chris Boswell more? And I think the answer is you should trust Chris Boswell more. And we haven't seen him kick those field goals because he's never allowed, but we know he can do it. And I really do think you're right. We had all the momentum in the game. If we tie it up there, we go to overtime. Who knows? They might shred us and win the game, but at least we give ourselves an opportunity where that 4th and 6, the play call actually was fine. It was the execution. He threw to DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf was not open at all. Like, if the ball doesn't get tipped, it's probably a pick 6. Granted, they wouldn't run it in, but it's probably an interception. He had Jonnu Smith wide open on like an out route towards the middle of the field. But again, why would we look towards the middle of the field? And so, yeah, I'm totally on the same page as you. I think we should have kicked that ball. And it's just mistrust in one of your greatest weapons on your team.
I think legitimately Boswell probably had and this might even be, negative, but I think Boswell had a 50% chance of making that kick. And I take that probably 50% higher all day when you think about we probably had a 20% chance of converting 4th and 6. And then you still have work to do, right? You still have, you're really only going to pick up a few yards and you still have to stop the clock and all that stuff. So I don't know. I just feel very, very poorly about how all of that went down at the end of the game. It was not it was not fun to kind of be in that moment at all. So rough way to end it there. I feel like we're kind of harping on a lot of this stuff. What do you want to say about the defense in this game?
It's the same story, same theme. We've been talking the last couple of weeks how we thought that they finally fixed some of their issues and the defense was starting to turn a corner and look a lot better. And then what do? We come out and we go back to what we were doing when things weren't working. We played a lot of single high looks. 63% of the snaps were single high shells, and 44.7% of those were cover 3 plays. And that's what we were saying we changed last week. We played a lot of cover 2, and it's been working. But why would we stick to that and keep doing what we were doing when it was working? Because that's just not what this coaching staff does. And I thought there was coaching malpractice all over the defensive side of the ball. And it's finally coming, like it's boiling. Patrick Queen in a interview today said that he actually called out the scheme and said, yeah, I think the scheme kind of screwed us over. They're expecting us to do two or three things at once, and we really legitimately can't do that. And that's the first time I think I've really heard somebody speak out about it, but it was glaringly obvious. At the end of the first half, again, we have a lead, I think. Right? We were up. What was the score at the end of the first half?
21-17.
It was 21-14. Right. We had just taken
17.
a lead. Well, but then that last drive is where I was going.
Sure.
They had a 3rd and 5 from their own 41, and our defense is playing at the 50, 5 yards past the sticks, just because they're worried about giving up like a touchdown or a big play. And it's like, but if you stop them there, you get off the field and you go into halftime with a 7-point lead. But instead, they played in their fears, like Mike Tomlin always does, and he did consistently in this game, and they end up giving up the field goal and give the Bears all of the momentum back going into the second half. And then the touchdown to put them – I mean, there was both touchdowns in the second half. The deep pass to DJ Moore, or maybe that wasn't in the second half. Yeah, that was in the second half, the third quarter one. That touchdown, there was nobody within 20 yards of DJ Moore. They ran 4 verticals, and we couldn't cover it. I mean, it's ridiculous. We had 2 guys – within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage covering air. Like, I just don't understand what they were scheming. And then on the final touchdown, the 2-yard run from the 2, we had 2 down linemen on 3rd and 2 from the 2 against a team that runs the ball the 3rd most in football. And inside the red zone, run the ball more than anybody. And we put Cam Hayward, who's hurt, and Keanu Benton, who's awful against the run, as our only 2 down linemen and play nickel, all because they have 3 receivers. It's just like the coaching staff has no concept of how to. And I know this is easy to say in hindsight, and I know you can be a couch coach and all that kind of stuff. But these guys are professional coaches. This is the NFL, and these are very, very simple concepts and things that they mess up. And if it happened one time, maybe we would be a bit crazy calling them out like this. But this is a consistent thing that happens week in and week out. And at some point, it becomes the norm, not like a one-time thing. And it's obviously the norm for us. We get outcoached every single game, and this game was definitely one of those.
Listen, I don't have anything to add. I think you hit the nail on the head from all aspects. It was a regression to the mean, or
Yep.
worse than the mean. We went back and we said, oh, we had a lot of success the past couple weeks. Let's switch it up and go back to what we didn't have a lot of success with, because maybe that'll work.
Crazy.
And it didn't work. And it really didn't work. I think I said this at the very beginning, but we have now let up 30 or more points in 5 different games this season.
Yeah.
And that, I think it's never happened 5 or 6 times in Mike Tomlin's career. And it's just something pretty unheard of that it would happen. Multiple, 5, 6 times in a season. So this is something that really needs to be sorted out. Just wait. I mean, the Buffalo Bills next week, we'll get to our preview in a second, but gosh, I don't even know how you're going to prepare for a team like that after you see Josh Allen have really ups and downs. And
Right.
He had a really bad game last week, and he's going to be hungry to have a good game against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. So, I have nothing to add, honestly. I think you hit the nail on the head. That's a great analysis. From my perspective, watching it, it was Swiss cheese. It was a Swiss cheese defense.
Well, and we've been saying this all year, that when they don't get pressure, they get torn up in the back end. And guess what happened? We came into the game getting 30% pressure rate on the season. We had a 13.2% pressure rate. 5 of his 38 dropbacks, he was pressured, and I'm pretty sure Caleb Williams was 0 for 5 on all of those dropbacks. So, and including he had the sack, the strip sack for the touchdown. So, yeah, we are so hit or miss with the pressure, and we live and die by it. James Pierre, for how well he's played the last couple of weeks, did not look that good. Yeah. Darius Slade to come in a little bit. Joey Porter Jr. got hurt. It just was. We were back to the same things we've been talking about. And if you're going to rely on the front 4 to get pressure, and that's the only way you can stop a team, you're asking a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree. The James Pierre point is something I wanted to bring up too. I love the decision that the coaching staff made to play him and start him after the success he's been having, and I hope that it was just a bad game for him, because he did not play well. But
no.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else on the defense? I think we can't not talk about how bad the special teams performance was overall.
Yeah,
Um,
let's go there.
just sloppy all around, and let's talk for a second about the punting. Maybe not even talk, but at least just mention it. Corliss Waitman had 3 punts, 106 yards, so that's an average of 35.3. The last punt that he had was a 33-yard punt. I think so much of what happened in this game was because of field position. If
Yeah,
you look at where we
definitely.
possessed, I don't have the stats. You could probably pull it up, or we could analyze all these drives. But what it felt like watching was every time the Steelers got the ball, it was on like the 20-yard line. It felt like we had a whole field to go to drive. It seemed like every time the Bears got the ball, they were on like the 40, and they had half
Yep.
of the field to go. Um, again, that's probably not all the all the way there or 100% there. But if we went back and looked, I bet we would definitely see that overall starting field position from the Bears versus the Steelers was significantly better. You go back to the very start of the game, right? And we forced a 3-and-out. We throw an interception on our second play, which also I'm pretty frustrated with the fact that we had a 9-yard run to start off the game, and then a 2nd and 1 we throw an interception instead of just getting the first down.
Yep.
But we turned the ball over, and ultimately where the Bears picked up the ball was their own 44-yard line. So their very first drive, their touchdown drive that they put together, they only had to go a little bit more than 50 yards. So, yeah, that's my take.
Dude, I am looking at all these things, these starting field positions, and yeah, I mean you're incredibly right. I only got to like the start of the fourth quarter, but our main field position starts were 21, 5, 20, 25, 27, and then the fumble on the 48. Theirs was the 29, the 44, the 20, the 26, the 30, the 36, the 40, the 46.
Yeah.
And if you look at his punts, like most of those were after punts. Like he had a 34-yard punt in the beginning of the third quarter that they started the ball on their own 40. We had another punt, I think, the one at the end of the game, like you mentioned, the 39-yard punt. I mean, it's just like it was bad, like really, really bad, and it flipped the field. And like we talked about at the end of the game, we needed to push them deep to get us a shorter field if we got the ball back to kick the field goal. And because it was a 33-yard punt, they got the ball like their own 40.
50, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like we need to play so perfect with the style of play we have, and that
Great way to
includes
put it.
special teams, and we just didn't. And if you would have looked at the stat line a couple weeks ago and said in Chicago, 39-yard long punt, 35 average, okay, maybe it was windy or maybe it was snowing, and like you said, I mean, you were there. There was no wind. Their punter had a 58-yard punt and averaged 50 and a half, and that included a touchback. And so it's just like I don't get it. The special teams, well, really, just Corliss Waitman just was not
Yeah.
good.
No, you put it perfectly. It's the way that we are playing football. We have to have everything work perfectly for us, because if we don't,
Yeah.
if one thing is off, it's not going to work out for us. And God forbid, if 3 things are off, it's even worse. And that's why
Yeah.
this game, you look at the scoreboard, and we lost by 3 points away against a
Yep.
team that's now 8-3. And we traditionally don't play well in Chicago, and yada yada yada. So on paper, this doesn't look that bad. But as a fan and watching that game and analyzing the game, it was bad. It was bad.
I'm glad you brought that up, because during the fourth quarter when we were coming back, I was kind of sitting there ready to talk to you this week about this game and be like, hey, we actually did not play our best ball whatsoever, and we found a way to grind the win out and get the win.
Me too.
And I was getting ready to have that conversation with you and say it in a really positive light. And then we did what we do with Mike Tomlin, and we fell apart and didn't finish. And I'm with you. On paper, it doesn't look like a bad loss. An 8-3 team who, I mean, I think they're frauds. I think you think they're frauds. But like an 8-3 team that we, on the stat
points.
sheet,
Yeah.
right, we beat them on the stat sheet. But this was the culmination
Backup quarterback. Yeah.
of
No, you're right.
everything the Steelers have like this was like the culmination of the fans boiling over at this point, because this was just like it was the same thing we always see, and it's the same story, and I think that's why this is such a defining loss to the fan base. Maybe not the team, although there does seem to be some disgruntled players, but the fan base for sure. This is a monumental loss, even though it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, what else about the game? Because I'm ready to move to a Jag and a ball.
I'm ready to move on. I have nothing else to say.
We're going to do that. Then I have 2 questions I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
They're painful questions. And then one is going to be, the last point will be a preview of the Buffalo game. All right? Let's
do it.
All right. Jagoff. I got to jump in and just give it to Corliss Waitman. I think it was his first game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. It was detrimental to our game. Had the punting in that game been a little bit better, that could be one of the factors that could have led to a different outcome. So I'm going to give it to Corliss Waitman. I hate that I'm doing that, but it was extremely well deserved. And hope he has a turnaround game. He's been someone that's been like just average punting the ball, like not good but not bad. Yeah. And this was a really, really bad performance. This was like a Presley Harvin performance. So let's hope that there's improvement for Corliss Waitman.
Do you know the meme, the Scooby-Doo meme, where they take the guy's mask off and it's somebody underneath? Did you see the meme? Somebody took the mask off of Corliss Waitman and it was Presley Harvin underneath. I saw that. That's so funny. I'm glad you have a real Jag-off, because I couldn't think of one, to be honest. I considered giving it to myself and you, because we allowed ourselves to. Mainly me, because we allowed ourselves to think like things would be different. But no, I mean, this has to go to Mike Tomlin.
Man, he might set a season record for the most Jag-offs.
I know, and I didn't. Right, I'm going to look as we speak. I didn't want to give it to him because of that. I've only given it to him once. You've given it to him.
That's it?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. This is my second time you've given it to him once. Right. So 3 combined through, remember, we didn't do every episode. So, like,
that's true. We did miss
9,
a few episodes. Yeah.
9 weeks, he's been the Jag-off between one of us 3 of those 9 weeks. It's just hard for me to find anybody. I mean, there's a lot of people, but I think it all culminates for everything we've talked about with Mike Tomlin. And, this is the beginning of the end, in my opinion. Like, I think it's over. And, well, I don't really have much more to add to that.
All right. Well, I don't have a real balls of steel to give in terms of players as well, so I'm going to pull a little Polt special.
Good.
I'm going to go a little double team here. So first balls of steel goes to the weather for Mother Nature pulling out a 50-degree day in Chicago at the end of November with no wind. No clouds in the sky. It was a beautiful day, man. It was awesome. It felt like, awesome. Honestly, it felt like a kind of a September football day in Pittsburgh. It was really, really beautiful. So I got to give maybe Mother Nature a balls. But with that, I think the balls of steel also has to go to the group that I was with. Was great. My coworker Josh, his daughter Allison, and my wife Patty for making the trip with me. It was great to have that. We had a lot of fun despite the loss. I kept saying it was fun until it wasn't. We were pretty rowdy the first half of the game. I mean, we were talking shit and waving our towels, and it was great. But it's unfortunate that it didn't end up our way. But that's my balls of steel. It goes to the group and to Mother Nature.
So I was considering this. I'm going to give it as an honorable mention because I have a player one. I was going to give it to you, partly because I know yesterday was tough, especially being there in person, having to experience that dreadful game in person, but then being able to show up, I don't know, a little over 24 hours later and record this when we're both kind of down in the dumps right now about this team. So you get an honorable mention there for that.
I'll take that.
I'm going to give the real one, though, to a guy that we keep talking. Well, we didn't hit on running backs at all in this episode, but I think Kenneth Gainwell deserves some love, and I don't think we've given it to him yet. He had 10 carries for 92 yards. Again, most of that's on the 55-yard fake tush push, but that was a beautiful play, and then 6 catches for 30 yards. He had the most catches in the game for us, second most amount of yards.
Too. He played the first play of the game.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure it was let me look back. I'm pretty sure. Hold on, I might eat my words. I'm due for one of these per episode. Remember?
You are. Hold on, I'm
No.
checking.
This is true. Yeah,
Yeah,
he.
9 yards.
Yeah, so I remember that, and I was like, oh,
I
why
mean,
isn't Jalen Warren out there? But
so
yeah, no, I think it was fine.
and Jalen ran well, 18 for 68. I thought he ran hard. He had a touchdown, but and they should have given the Rock maybe more. But Kenneth Gainwell has really stepped up, and it's been an ongoing discussion. But I think he's earned his play time, and he's played really really well. He's been like our best receiver too. So I wanted to give him some love, and in this gloom and doom game, he was one of the only bright spots.
Totally, I like it. Okay, how'd we do on bold predictions?
Well, we both lost. I said that one of the quarterbacks, mainly Aaron, but one of the quarterbacks would get 250 plus yards. He only had 171, and then you said Jalen Warren would have 100 rushing yards. He had 68. So like not terrible, but
Yeah, all right. We'll just keep them in check.
I do want to mention. I forgot this in my jagoff. What happened with the Aaron Rodgers situation? Because from all due accounts, it sounded like he was able to play, and Tomlin said no.
So I heard that Mike Tomlin. I listened to his post game conference immediately after the game, and he said that he knew on Saturday that Rodgers wasn't going to play.
Okay, so was it like a doctor decision?
Who knows? We'll never know. We also don't even know what the specifics of the injury are. But that's going to lead me to my question. One of the questions, because it's related, and this will round out the game. Because the other question is not related, and maybe it's not necessarily a question, but more of an opinion. Anyways, getting to this one, I have to ask this, but it's like it hurts inside because we've talked about this, and this is what we were like bickering about over text. You think if Aaron Rodgers plays that game, the outcome is different?
Yeah.
Do you?
I do, and I feel even more strongly about it after the fact. I just think there's some things that Mason, being an obvious backup that hasn't played at all this season, I think it really shined its head. Like we talked about the second to last drive where we ended up punting the ball. Mason had a really good scramble, like a 30-yard scramble to get us over the 50 that would have put us in premier position to at least tie the game. But it got called back because of an illegal formation. If you haven't seen it yet, I caught this live during the game. It was Calvin Austin and somebody else right beside him. And Calvin Austin he was like vocally yelling at Mason Rudolph, like, hey, we're screwed up. And Mason just didn't have the wherewithal to notice that and realize that they were lined up incorrectly. However, on the sideline, there's the view of Aaron Rodgers, for whatever reason, was on the camera at the beginning of that play. And he caught it too, and right away put his hands on his head and said, wrong formation, wrong formation, wrong formation. And it's some of those intangibles that maybe his skills aren't what they used to be, but the intangibles of running the offense and getting us in better plays than maybe what we're called, I do think might have been able to change this game just enough to get us a victory.
Okay, we're gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna answer the question because I don't know how I would answer.
It's a hard question.
And it's we know I like Mason Rudolph. I think he had a terrible game, just in terms of everything. That his stats looked fine, but I don't think it was a good game from his perspective. So it's nothing to do with how much I like Mason or think he could play well for us. I don't know. I struggle with the hypothetical because I think this game was beyond the quarterback, and so that almost. I totally agree with everything you say, but the other side of it is, would anything really even have mattered? So,
that's fair.
We're going to leave it at that, but thanks for opining on that. The second thing I wanted to at least ask, because this is something that's been talked about pretty broadly across all social media right now, and sports media and everything that's out there, is we got to at least just hit on it and get our 2 cents. George Pickens is playing lights out. He is having an incredible year on the Dallas Cowboys. He last game, I think he put up 130 yards and a touchdown, and he's playing great beside CeeDee Lamb, who's the Cowboys wide receiver 1, and he's also having a really, really good year. Now, to put this all in perspective, the Cowboys have a 5-5 record or something like that. They're 5-1.
Yeah.
So they are also very much fighting for a playoff berth. No, they just beat the Eagles, but who knows if they're ultimately going to make the playoffs. And of course, any player that's a diva is going to want to be on a winning team, and they're going to be wanting to win championships, and that's probably a lot of the reasons why they move and raise concerns. But
Yeah.
again, I don't really have a question here, but I kind of just need you to. I want to get your opinion on everything. Like, it's pretty clear that George Pickens is the type of player that we needed on our team this year to have
Yes.
our offensive success, and we got him out because of his character. But what do we make of all this? I guess maybe the question is, was it the right move?
Yeah, and I think we need to maybe explain a little more how good of a season he's having through 11 games. He has 1,054 yards. That's second in the league, only behind Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's having an unbelievable season. So that's the kind of
DK
season.
has like 560 yards.
Yeah, he has 570. So, I mean,
Yeah.
he has half the amount of yards that George Pickens has. I think that's really important to mention in this topic. What also is important to mention, which I think will lead me to my answer, is I don't know if you saw, and if you haven't, I haven't read it yet, but if you aren't aware, if you're listening, last week George Pickens spoke for the first time about the Steelers trade, and he actually wrote a Players Tribune article. I think that was a piece of it. I don't think that was the full piece, but he talked about what transpired, and what he said happened was the relationship was over. He was done with us. We were done with him for whatever reason. I don't think he went in the details. And he said he went to the Steelers and said, "Hey, I'm not going to sign here after this season. I'm going to leave. You might as well trade me now and get something while you can, because otherwise I'm just going to walk out the door." And he said the Steelers responded and said, "Okay, we'll trade you, and we'll trade you where you want to go," which was the Cowboys. He was a Cowboy fan, I guess, and he has some fond memories of his mom playing youth football in a Cowboys jersey, all this kind of stuff. And so the Steelers did right by him and sent him to the Cowboys, and he did right by the Steelers, in my opinion, being honest and upfront with them. And looking at it from that perspective, I think it was the right call, because, I mean, we instead of losing him for nothing, we got a third round pick. Now,
Sure.
we can argue we could have kept
Would have
him.
had him this year. Yeah.
We could have kept him this year and said, screw that pick, who cares? But this is George Pickens we're talking about, and we know he's a diva, and he better fits our offense than DK Metcalf. I think we've learned that. Like this offense that we run where we don't throw over the middle, all that kind of stuff, George Pickens can win one-on-one down the sideline, whereas DK struggles a little bit more, so he fits us more. But if we didn't trade him, was he going to really play his hardest for us, or was he going to play at all? I don't know, and I think that's something you could definitely question with George Pickens. And so for that regard, I think that we did the right thing getting rid of him. What we did wrong was not having a plan to replace him. When they go into the office and say, we're going to trade him, we're going to get rid of him, let's just cut ties, he doesn't want to be here, we don't want him, blah, blah, blah. They needed to do something, and the something was not Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, MVS, who hasn't seen the field, Ben Skoranek, Scotty. Like, they needed to, whether that was draft somebody, whether that was go out and sign a legit number 2 or make a trade, they needed to do something, and that's where I think we failed.
That's a great take. I wasn't keen to that article and everything that he said, and it makes
It went under the radar.
Yeah, well, that's great, because I think hearing that makes so much more sense, because you're totally right. I think what it boils down to is, sure, we could have had him for this year, but would he hold out? Maybe.
Right.
Would he play with the level of intensity? Now, of course, you can always make the counter argument. Maybe he is that missing piece to our offense. He decides he's going to play, give it his all. The Steelers give him really good numbers, put up a really great season. Then maybe he says, changed my mind. We got really close, or we won, or something, and maybe I will stay. But I think you have to take things for face value when they happen like that in the NFL, and you can't play the hypothetical. So looking back, I mean, with everything you said, I'm with you. I think that's the right move. So it is a little bit frustrating to see everything going on right now, where it's like, oh, the Steelers made the wrong move. They got rid of George Pickens. That's what they needed. I don't disagree. I think you put it very, very well. What we screwed up was the replacement plan, right? It was it was what we do when he leaves.
And I will say, on George Pickens' point of view, good for him. I think he made the right decision, because he's the second. I mean, he got himself paid. It is what he's done through 11 games. He's going to make $30 million. And would that have happened with the Steelers? highly doubtful. Not only would we not have signed him, he wouldn't have had the statistics to garner that from another team. So good from him betting on himself.
Yeah, good for him. All right. Goes to show, always think about succession planning, right?
Yep. Big Ben, George Pickens. Yep.
Yeah, Steelers
Don't
team
open that can
very
of
well.
worms.
Yeah. All right. Anywho, let's preview the Buffalo game and get on with this. So, late afternoon game, I feel like we've had in a while, or maybe all this season.
I think it might be this whole year.
425. Yeah, 425 game at home against the Buffalo Bills. Bills coming off a loss to Houston. Not a great game by Buffalo. Granted, Houston's the number one defense in the league this year, but they lost that game last week 29-13. That was a Thursday night game. So the Buffalo Bills have a little bit of that mini bye or that extra rest. Buffalo's a 4-point favorite right now in Pittsburgh. So favored to win outright. And I don't have, anything crazy to say here. We know that Buffalo's a really good team, always a competitor in the AFC. Josh Allen is a fantastic quarterback, both through the air and on the ground. James Cook, their running back, is having a really, really, really strong year through both the ground game and the receiving game. I think their wide receiver and receiving group is a little bit up in the air, like us, in terms of not necessarily knowing who their leading candidate is. But they definitely do spread the ball around, and they definitely can put points up on the board. Looking back at some of their games, 41 points, 30 points, 31 points, 31 points, 40 points, 44 points. So this is a high-octane offense that is definitely going to challenge our defense. So that's my take. How do you feel?
Yeah, they're the tale of two teams. These numbers are interesting, but they're fifth in scoring offense, 28 points per game, like you just kind of outlined. They're ninth in passing yards and first in rushing yards per game. So they don't just have James Cook, who's been one of the best running backs in the league. They have Josh Allen, who can also run around you and through you. And we don't play very well against running quarterbacks typically. So we'll see if we can slow him down. On the other side of the ball, though, they can get got defensively. They're 16th in points allowed, 23 per game, just slightly better than us. 100. They're first in passing yards per game, which is really interesting. But I think that could be because they're 30th against the run. They give up 148 yards a game. Their run defense has only gotten worse as the season's gone on. They really can't stop the run, and that's where we need to take advantage of them. It is on the ground. I do think we can put up some points and move the ball on their defense, but it's going to come down to what can our defense, after we took 2 steps back last week, what can our defense do against one of the most prolific offenses and one of the best quarterbacks in the league? I don't know. I think I'm gonna do this again for the second time this year. Do it maybe for a little bit of reverse jinx and help us out here. But I'm going to actually pick the Buffalo Bills to win this game 31-27. I think the Steelers can maybe put up points, especially if Aaron Rodgers comes back, which it sounds like he will. But I don't know if our defense can slow them down as much as they need to, and that's really scary. And as you mentioned, they're coming off of a loss where Josh Allen played maybe one of the worst games of his career. So look for him to potentially turn that around.
So, do you still give a bold prediction even after you predict a loss for the Steelers?
Yeah, it's my bold prediction: the Steelers to win.
No. That's because before you go there, that's actually my bold prediction. It's that
Really?
It's that black and white. My bold prediction is that the Steelers win. I'm not going to play any games of who's going to do what in this game. I just think that this is a typical Steelers thing to do, right? You beat the really, really good teams. You lose against the really, really bad teams. Play to your competition, and play poorly against your not competition. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers win this game. Do I actually think it's going to happen? Probably not, but it won't catch me off guard if they do. I think the Steelers either get blown out or they come away in a close game. So I'm going to say the Steelers win. That's my bold prediction.
I love that, and as somebody that's going to be at the game, I would love nothing more than for them to win the game. I'm 2-0 on the season, so maybe I can keep the streak going. But yeah, I mean, my prediction's a little bit of a hopeful reverse jinx, but it's also partly what I kind of could see happening. I will give a bold prediction though. I think Rodgers. My score doesn't lead to this, but whatever. I think Aaron Rodgers, if he plays, is going to come out with a vengeance and really want to again prove why he's the starter. And I think he has 3+ passing touchdowns. I know I just said that they're really good against the pass and bad against the run, but I think we're gonna get down there with the run, and then he puts the ball over the goal line with some throws.
All right, we'll see, man. We'll hope for the best. I hope you have a good time at the game. Hope
Yeah,
you have a
thank you.
good time tailgating. At least that was my experience. It was a great tailgate, and
Yeah,
the game didn't go as well as we planned. But it's all we can do, right? I think this last game was a pivotal one for us this season. If we lose, that puts us at 6-6, pretty firmly outside of the division
yeah,
title. Granted, we still have those 2 games against Baltimore coming up, but this is a game that if you win, you stay in the mix. I think if you lose, you're kind of out of playoff contention. So
yeah.
that's how I see it. Well, we'll see what happens. I hope you have a really good time, and happy
Thanks, man.
Thanksgiving to everyone. It's a great time of year, and next time we'll talk, it'll be December
Yeah,
football.
crazy. Hopefully it's much happier than this one. So yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all, and hopefully Thanksgiving night ends with a Cincinnati Bengal Joe Burrow victory over the Ravens.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be awesome. That's something we can definitely root for.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Peace.